All right. So the next step that we're going to do into calculating our macros is we have to understand what type of macro split we want to be on. In other words, do you want to do high carb? Do you want to do low carb? Or do you want to do moderate carb? That's the easiest way for people to understand this. Okay. So a very normal split. Okay. So now what we're doing is we're getting, let's just say it's 2000 calories. And now what we've got to do is we've got to split it up between how many grams of carbs we're going to get, how many grams of protein we're going to get, and how many grams of fat we're going to get. And we're trying to split that 2000 up into grams of carbs, fats, and proteins. Okay. That equals your macros. Your macros are basically, or not basically, your macros are protein, carbs, and fats. Those are your macronutrients. That's just been shortened for macros. Okay. So what we're trying to do now is we're trying to get that 2000 calorie number that we just said is your maintenance calories. We're just making it up for an example. Okay. And we're trying to break that down into how many grams of carbs, fats, and proteins that you actually have. Okay. Now, again, there's a lot of decision making in this place. Do you want a high carb type split? Do you want a low carb type split? There's a gazillion different splits out there. Okay. But for the sake of this conversation, all I want to do is just teach you how to calculate. Okay. You can determine your split at another time. You can figure out what is going to be best work for you at another time. But really what you want to do right now during this session is you just want to learn how to calculate it, no matter what split you're on. Okay. So let's just look at, let's say we're just going to go with the basic split. Okay. Where it's kind of moderate carbs, moderate protein, and moderate fat. Okay. So a basic split would be that 40% of your calories are coming from carbs, 30% are coming from protein, and 30% are coming from fat. Okay. So let's just say that that is a very moderate split, and that's the split we're going to go to. And I want everybody to do this right now. Get out a pen and paper and write this down, because I'm going to take you through an example of how you can actually calculate your macros. If you don't do this and you're just listening to me, these are just going to be numbers and words, and you're going to be like, oh, I don't understand what any of this stuff means. Okay. Actually get out a sheet of paper and let's do it together. Okay. So you can see exactly how to calculate stuff. Okay. Now, let's say that we are doing, let's say that you calculate everything. You've determined your split, all of that nerdy stuff we just talked about. Okay. And let's say that our number is 2000 maintenance calories. Okay. That's where we want to be. Okay. In fact, let's just say that our fat loss, we're in fat loss, okay? And our calories for fat loss are 2000 calories. That's where we want to be, okay? So now what we've got to do is we've got to determine how many grams of carbs are coming from that 2000 calories, okay? So this is where those numbers of 4 calories per gram of carb come into play, okay? So in order for us to calculate how many grams we should be eating, okay, the first thing we want to do is get 2000, because that's our fat loss calories. We're going to get 2000, and we're going to multiply that by 0.4, okay, because 40%, okay, or we're going to multiply it by 40%. 40% of our calories are coming from carbs. So you get 2000 and you multiply that by 40%. Okay. And what you're going to get is you're going to get a number. And if everybody did their math right, okay, I actually pre-did these calculations, so I wouldn't be so bad at it. Okay. But if you do 2000 calories times 40%, because 40% are coming from carbs, okay, you're going to get 800 calories. Okay. Now that's how many calories of carbs you should be getting from that 2000. But we got to break that down one more step in how many grams of carbs. So now we're going to get 800, and we're going to divide that by 4, because there's 4 calories per gram of carbohydrates. Okay. So if you get 800 divided by 4, you're going to get an answer of 200 grams of carbs. Okay. So let's do that again, except this time we're going to do it with protein. Okay. So again, if we can go back and we think about what split we're doing 30% of our calories are coming from protein. Okay. So if we had that 2000 number, we're going to multiply that by 30%. Okay. That's going to give us 600 calories. Okay. Now, if we can go back and think about it, there's 4 calories per gram of protein. Okay. So that is going to, if we divide 600 divided by 150, that's going to give us I have to give you the answer. 600 divided by 4. Okay. That's going to give us 150 grams of protein. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing with fat. Okay. We have that 2000 calorie number and we want 30% of our calories coming from fat. So we're going to multiply that by 30%. Okay. Again, that gives us 600 calories. Okay. Now, for every gram of fat, there is 9 calories. Okay. So we're going to divide that 600 calorie number divided by 9. Okay. And what that gives us is that gives us 66. Okay. So the way it should look is we have just done our macro breakdown. Okay. We have done 200 grams of 200 grams of carbs, 150 grams of protein, and 66 grams of fat. When we break down our macros, if we're doing 2000 calories and we're doing a basic split, okay, we get 200 grams of carbs, 150 grams of protein, and 66 grams of fat. And literally, how long did that take me? 10 minutes to show you the long way to do it. Okay. I showed you the long way. Okay. Guys, if you want to make it so much easier, literally, like I said, Google macro calculator. Okay. Instead of saying calorie calculator, do macro calculator, and you can literally have it done in 2 minutes. Okay. Now, that's all I'm going to talk about because it is nerdy. It is a little bit scientific, and it can get a little crazy if I'm not showing you on the screen and I'm not kind of breaking it down for you. But all of my clients at some point in their journey, we sit down and calculate their macros so they can understand how their program was even created. In most cases, most people don't want to do any of this stuff, right? So this is why they'll hire a coach to actually work that out for them. Okay. But if you don't want to hire a coach and you don't want to do it, like I said, you can literally do it in 2 minutes.